Hi there, my name is Kai. This is a follow-up review to the Hoverair X1 Pro 4K drone. Welcome to CaiLife. Yes, I'm back again for a November update to my purchase of the Hoverair X1 Pro with the beacon accessory. Now previously on the channel I did an unboxing and a review, early days review I'd say, because I hadn't had the drone for very long, of the Hoverair X1 Pro drone and the beacon accessory, which doesn't necessarily come with the base version, the base purchase of the drone, but is an optional extra that is supposed to improve your user experience. Now before I go any further, I do want to say that I have a massive amount of appreciation and love for you guys that have been commenting and subscribing to the channel, especially since I've been putting up the drone and the tech stuff. It means so much, especially as I'm trying to push up to that 1,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification. That will let you know when I've dropped a new piece of content, and obviously please like the video because it makes a huge difference. It also makes a huge difference if you can watch the video all the way through. I'm going to keep this one concise and to the point, but yeah, it makes a massive difference, guys, if you can watch the whole video in terms of the YouTube algorithm and metrics, etc, etc. Now, I got my Hoverair X1 Pro cycling bundle from Indiegogo as a crowdfunding release, so I got it pretty early on. Now, as you have seen in my flight videos and when I've been looking at the beacon and a slight deeper dive into sort of how each one works, I've enjoyed flying the drone, albeit, relatively speaking, I haven't really flown it that much, I'd say, in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I was super impressed by the beacon, the aesthetics of the beacon, that kind of that modular look, and the fact that it seems like just an awesome piece of hardware. Obviously you've got the screen which shows you what the drone can see on its camera, and with its Hoverlink technology, the proprietary Hoverlink technology, it supposedly acts as a fortifying tracking beacon essentially. So obviously this tracks onto the subject and will track you anyway, but this is supposed to act as a sort of as a backup and an enhancer for that, if you will. Now, it is November, it is mid-November, and you'd like to think that by now the software has bedded in to the point where we're at a firmware where people are flying their drones, they're loving life, they're not really having many issues, and that is definitely not really the case. Now, I'm going to say one thing, and I think it's important to say this before I go any further, and that is, I'm sure there's a psychological principle to this. I've got no idea what the name is. If you do know what it is, then please let me know in the comments. But it's one of those things where when you buy a product or you're looking at reviews for a product, you're less likely to see and hear from people who are just enjoying their product, having a great time, they have no issues because they're just getting on enjoying and using their product. When you go on to, say, Amazon, or you're looking on Reddit, you're going to tend to come across more often than not people who are struggling with whatever they bought because they feel more empowered, they're more passionate in a negative way to complain about the things that don't work. So I do kind of want to caveat what this video is primarily about by saying that I'm sure there are a whole bunch of X1 Pro and X1 Pro Max users who are having no issues, or at least aren't running into game-breaking issues with their drone and or their beacon. Having said that, I haven't used mine very much, and part of the reason for not using it that much is because I've encountered software issues that just haven't been very fun to experience. And the problem is, as someone that has only just got into using a drone, this is my very first drone, the thing that I want more than anything else is confidence. I want confidence in the tech. I want confidence. You know, if there's going to be a problem with it and it's because of user error, I'll hold my hands up. If it's because I can't fly the drone very well, fair enough. Although remember, this is an autonomous drone. Yes, you can use it in manual mode, but one of the big selling points of this is that it's an autonomous drone. So having drone flying skills shouldn't really be, or having user error by way of flying the drone is a rather a moot point with this. However, the issues related with the software and the firmware, now I feel like from what I've seen, and I've seen a lot on Facebook pages and Reddit as well, I feel like the issues that I've been having have been fairly minor in comparison, and yet they are issues that don't give me confidence right now with where this sits. Now let me tell you why. In my video which detailed 5 reasons to buy the Hoverair X1 Pro, there's a high shot, a shot where I flew the drone up, did a little bit of scanning, a little panning right, a little bit of panning left, and it's looking over the cityscape of London. And it's a really nice shot. Now, it took me a long time to get that shot. And it took me a long time to get that shot because of really annoying software related issues. Now, first things first, for that shot, I didn't use the beacon. That was a moot point. We're going to get onto this in a bit and why this is rather problematic at this point. I was using the phone app instead. And what I will say is that the app is really great. It connects to the drone nicely. Like I say, you have loads of control, live control in terms of exposure and ISO, and it's really useful in that sense. But the first thing that I encountered was the drone asking for a firmware update. Now, I just got over to the park where I was filming this high shot, and I turned on the drone, and I mean, possibly my mistake, I hadn't checked this before I went out, but I thought, no problem, we'll just update the drone and then get on with recording. I set the phone to download the update to then send over to the drone. Now, the problem is that it just froze. The update just froze on the drone. Now, I did warn on the phone. On the app, it said, make sure you wait until the update is complete, but nothing happened. It got up to a certain percentage, it was installing, and then nothing happened whatsoever. But the drone was still fully on, still going through its battery. I had 2 spare batteries with me. I thought absolutely fine. I closed the app, I reopened the app, it said I had to install the update. Anyway, this happened for quite a long time of me looping back and forth, and included in this was me just not being able to use the drone whatsoever. After standing outside for an hour, it finally had said that it had updated, except it wouldn't let me fly the drone from the app. And it also wouldn't take off in autonomous mode either. So I had a fully bricked drone, and all I wanted to do was get one simple shot. Now, this kind of thing is frustrating. It generally wouldn't frustrate me too much, but I can tell from what I've seen, and I'm going to go through some of the comments that I've read, some of your comments on Facebook and Reddit, not on my page, although I know that some of your comments on my videos have also expressed frustration at either firmware, software issues, or just general limitations, or just the device itself being a bit unpredictable. And I can hear you on that. Anyway, in the end, there was no rhyme or reason to this update being completed. I managed to get the shot. Although I momentarily lost connection with the drone whilst flying it in manual mode with the phone. Now, that was kind of terrifying. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of terrifying. You don't want to be losing connection to the drone when you're in manual mode. It's not a comforting bit of information. Anyway, it reconnected. So it dropped the connection, but reconnected with it way up in the sky. Anyway, I then got it to return to home. Now, I hadn't moved myself. The drone didn't come directly back to me. It took quite a long while. It went back over my head, I'd say by about 30 meters or so, 30 meters behind me, and then landed and came a little bit closer, but still like 15, 20 meters away for me to go and actually retrieve the drone. And I hadn't moved. So again, one of those things, I mean, I did this in a bit of an open area, but had I been sort of, had a bit of space limitation, or I was in a situation where I really needed it to land in the same location that it had taken off from, then yeah, it was, again, a little bit discomforting. Other things that I've run into have been it not recording all the way on some of the modes. There have been times, and this has not been consistent, which has been the most bizarre thing, when I have done the bird's eye shots, and it will go up, it will stop recording, and then start recording on the way down. I don't know if this is a normal thing or if it's a glitch, but essentially it creates 2 different videos, not with a perfect cut point. So there's definitely gap in there. You can't just You can't just smush those together without it seeming like there's a cut in the video. Which again, not ideal. Fine if you want to get just a video of going up or just going down, but if you want going up into straight coming down, what I've experienced so far is that there's a cut in the video. That's not ideal. I've had issues where for some reason Omni-Terrain just doesn't kick in. Now usually this kicks in automatically if you're outside. Pretty much it detects you're outside and will be like, cool, Omni-Terrain is on. This is before you even let it launch. There have been times where Omni-Terrain just doesn't kick in, and I'll turn the drone off 2 or 3 times. 4th time, it'll be like, all good, buddy. And I'm like, cool, but why didn't you do it the first time, man? People are experiencing circular banding on their footage, as in like an actual circle on their footage, which is, it's not good enough. That's not good enough. And that has been acknowledged and is apparently being fixed. But why we're in November and something like that was introduced in a firmware update and hasn't been resolved yet, I don't know. People have been having their propellers, so the 4 different propellers that are in the Hoverair X1 Pro or Pro Max or original X1, have been having these snap off. Some people have been having these snap off during takeoff, as in without contact, without a collision. That shouldn't be happening either. So of course that means ordering replacement parts. I don't think the system for ordering replacement parts has been properly set up yet, so it has to go through support and support tickets. People have been talking about delays and latency with how quick support have been getting back to people, which again is not good for the old confidence, especially when obviously this product is going up against products from DJI, and their support system is famously pretty good, and they have obviously their care program. So if you have you can basically get insurance out on their products, and they're very good at replacing them. That doesn't exist yet, although I do understand that maybe this does exist in China where these are made, but maybe hasn't been extended to the rest of the world yet. Let me know in the comments if that has changed or that's been updated, but that would certainly go a long way, I think, to giving me as a consumer and everyone else that's purchased this a lot more confidence in the longevity and just flying it. I mean, on its maiden flight, I went out and tested this whilst riding the bike and realized immediately the errors of my ways in using this in a city, in an urban environment, was just a stupid idea. But what it also said to me is that you need to have as much confidence as you can in the tech. And look, the footage I got was great. I was super impressed. But there are certain modes, dolly mode or dolly track mode, where it flies in front of you. It doesn't consistently fly in front of you. It weaves all over the place from left to right. It doesn't stay on one plane of movement. It doesn't just, if you're moving straight, it doesn't move away from you in a straight trajectory. It sort of weaves around. And I mean, again, if you've got obstacles either side, then you're screwed at that point, because obviously you're moving, if you're running or you're cycling and you've got this drone that's flying ahead of you and is just weaving from left to right. It's a risk. It's a risk, especially when there's no insurance program right now and propellers are breaking. People are having propellers break even without contact. It's a little bit concerning. The last point is at the moment, let's call it untapped potential of the beacon accessory. Now, this has all sorts of issues when trying to connect to the Hover. Good luck in trying to get it to connect the first time. Now, in terms of one being able to see the other, that has no problem. But whether it actually connects is a completely different thing. Whether it holds the connection is also an entirely different thing. There is no rhyme or reason to when it will connect and it won't connect, and how long it will stay connected for, and whether you can reconnect it. So there have been times where it will connect on the 2nd or 3rd time of asking, it will be connected, it will drop connection, ask if I want to reconnect, and be like, you can't connect. Unbelievably frustrating. Unbelievably frustrating. As to whether this does offer an enhanced version of tracking as opposed to just the visual tracking that the camera does, I don't know. I don't know if it does. I'm not sure if people are reporting an enhanced experience in terms of subject tracking when this is being used compared to when it's not being used. And the other thing is that, I mean, it doesn't play nicely, these two, with the phone app. They just don't play nicely. There's drops in connection, there's conflicts in connection. So a little bit like what I said when I looked at the beacon in my other video, this is really nice for being able to see what the camera can see. So if I'm on the bike, and this is on the handlebars, it's great to know that I don't need to look and check on the drone, because that is an anxiety that we have. And you see it in most people's videos, especially when they're walking or they're cycling or they're running. There's that constant, oh, is it still there? Is it still actually following me? So having this, whether you're holding it, if you're walking or running, or you have it on the bike, you know that the drone is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, whether it's weaving around or not is a different thing. I've reported before that up until a recent firmware update, I had no manual control of the drone using the beacon. I do now, but I didn't whilst everyone else apparently could on the same firmware. I'm now using firmware where I can use this, but like I say, I'm increasingly concerned to fly it, because not only have I experienced problems in the times that I've used it, but I'm increasingly seeing more and more people online have issues, whether it's video quality issues, disconnection issues, issues with how the drone flies itself anyway, build quality issues with regards to the propellers. Having said that, and this has been like an honest, real talk video of the things I'm concerned about. I stand by the videos that I've done so far, including the 5 reasons to buy the Hoverair X1 Pro. I mean, it does all of the things that I said. I haven't used it recently, although to be honest, that's because I've been recording other content. I haven't been out on the bike as much. It's winter here now in the UK, and by the time I finish my work during the day, there's less time for me to get out, and obviously I'm not going to start flying this at night, because then it will just crash and I will lose my drone. So mostly this is to serve as a heads up. This is an awesome bit of kit with what seems to be ostensibly software related issues. I don't know why it's taking so long to provide a stable firmware for everyone. Also, it seems to me that you can't downgrade your firmware, so there have been times where I think we've had a perfectly usable firmware update. We then get into a firmware update where some devices have been bricked, some have just started producing erratic results from the drone or the beacon, and you can't downgrade, you can't revert to the previous firmware, which is no good. It's no good. Not for a device where you're spending a significant amount of money or more money on this than you'd be spending on the original X1. Having said that, it is slightly frustrating that the X1, the original X1, seems to be a stable piece of hardware with stable software, and we're not there yet with what is, a more advanced bit of tech. There is firmware version 7.2.6, which is about to be released imminently, which promises a raft of bug fixes. I will do an update once that piece of firmware is out and look to see whether some of the things that I've been a bit worried about, and I know that the community has been worried about, have been fixed. I would say if you are on the fence about purchasing this, then wait until that firmware has been updated, wait until that firmware has been released, and then check back in to see whether some of the concerns have been alleviated. Now, like I say, this is a real talk, just honest bit of content, because like I say, contrary to all of my concerns, I think this is an awesome, awesome gadget. It's a great bit of tech, and it's still new. I think people probably are still having theirs delivered, and they're obviously still tweaking the software and getting everything so it's running perfectly. Would I recommend you buy it if you want a really fun autonomous drone? Absolutely. Should you expect a perfect combination of hardware and software right now? Nope. If that's a deal breaker, should you buy it? Nope. They do seem to be rolling out firmware updates pretty frequently, which is great. For now, I'd say that the actual drone itself, whether it's the X1 Pro or the Pro Max, it's perfectly usable. It's perfectly usable, and you can get great results with it. The beacon accessory right now, I'd say, is a glorified paperweight until they manage to really, really drill down in weaponizing this, to sync with this perfectly, to hold its connection, and to not feel like you're going through a brand new experience of disconnections and just bugs every time you try and get these to work together. So if you're on the fence about picking this up, I'd say maybe right now is not the time to pick this up. I hope this video has been useful for you. If there's anything that you want to know specifically about the Hoverair X1 Pro, or you want any particular shots or updates on firmware, please do let me know in the comments. Like I say, I massively appreciate your support. It's great to have the love of my community in the comments and in your likes and any shares and subscriptions. So thank you so much. I've been CaiLife. Thank you so much for watching the video. Take care, much love, and peace out.